Hello. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the 3D space, and we're going to place some devices and kind of go through some of the processes and tools that are available within ePlan for the panel. Alright, so the first step is we need to create the layout space. Layout space is what ePlan calls kind of the 3D area. So to do that, you're going to go up here and go to layout space. Make sure, before we do that, make sure that you have clicked inside of the project that you want to create it in, or you only have one project open, because it's going to create the new layout space in whatever project you have highlighted here. So go into layout space and do new. So you gotta fill out some preliminary information first. Let me resize the window a little bit. So name, we're gonna call this one 001CE. Structure identifiers, we're gonna pick the identifiers for this. Basically, this is so that everything that we place in this panel will inherit these identifiers. Then call it the main panel. And okay. Alright, so now we've got a blank canvas for an empty space. So from here you have a couple different things that you can do. If you know what size panel you need, you can go ahead and pick your panel. So to do that, you would come up here to enclosure, you pick one. So these are all the enclosures that are already in there. Obviously there's lots more than this to choose from. We'll just go with this one. And then you just place it in there. And then, so if you know what panel you need, you probably know what back panel you need. So you can go in here into the mounting panel. And you can choose the mounting panel that you want. That box is a 16 by 14, so I need that one. And we'll move it into place in a little bit. Actually, let's pretend that we don't know what size panel we need yet. So we'll go ahead and delete those. So if you don't know what size panel you're going to need, but you want to go ahead and place all your devices so that you can figure out what size panel you need, if you click this free mounting panel, basically you can make up a mounting panel of whatever size you want. And then once you place all your devices, you can measure how much space you need and use that to select your panel. So for now, sure, this looks good, because there'll definitely be enough room there. Okay, so now we've got our panel that we're going to be working with here. Let's zoom out a little bit so you can see it. Alright, so this is basically this is where we're going to put everything. So let's add some DIN rail next. For the DIN rail, you're going to come over here to this mounting rail button right here. Basically, this will bring up the parts selection list with the mounting rail that is inside of the parts database. Basically, these are the rails that we actually have in stock. So try as best you can to limit it to these DIN rails. So we'll just go ahead and pick that one. And then we'll zoom in, and basically you can just place it, I don't know, however long, it doesn't matter. If you find that it's too short or too long as you're going through it, you can always come up here to the change length button, which is this button right here, and just click it. And then you click it, and basically you can just resize it to however long you want. It does, so it's going to move whatever edge is closest to where you click. So just kind of be aware of that. Another thing that you can do with this, so we'll grab our wire duct right here. Let's go with some 2x3. Sounds good. Place some right here. Place some right here. The change length works for the wire duct just like it does the DIN rail. And the other thing that I wanted to show was the fit rails to wire ducts. So if you click that button, and you click the DIN rail or whatever it is that you want to size, then you can kind of so if you want to bring it all the way up to this wire duct, click that edge and it'll bring it all the way up to it. And then if you want to bring it all the way up to this edge, okay, click that. So now your wire duct is fit in between those two. Okay. And then also if you want another one, just like this one, say if you want 3 or 4, I don't know, going down, you just right click and do duplicate. However far down, I don't know, this looks good. Say we want 3 of those, okay? We'll just add them all the way down. And ePlan, so on these you notice like the .2, .3, all that, ePlan assigns everything a device tag, including your DIN rails and your wire ducts and everything else. So that's what those numbers are for. Alright, so to place devices, we're going to do the 3D mounting layout. One thing real fast. And I've talked about it before, but might have forgotten, so I'm going to talk about it again. If you go up here to View and Workspace, you can pick all different toolbar layouts. You can create your own. There are some default ones in here. So for right now, since I'm doing everything in Propanel, I've selected my Propanel scheme, which basically brings up all these toolbars and navigators and everything else for me. Okay, bring that back up again. So let's go back to our layout space now. Alright. So now let's get to where we can see down the front. Alright, so now we can start placing devices. If we come over here to our 3D mounting layout tab, navigator, then we go to our project. What I like to do is right here in filter, you can go to unplaced parts with mounting location. And then you can actually, if you have multiple mounting locations, you can actually pick the mounting location that you want to filter by. And basically, that will remove any parts that you have already placed in the project, as well as any parts that are not in the mounting location that you select. So that way you can make sure that you're not putting parts in the wrong place or double placing parts, things like that. So if we come over here to electrical, let's place our 24 volt mirror parts first. Alright, so basically you just grab it and then you drag it. Let's scroll in so we can see a little bit better. Okay, place it on the DIN rail. All right. And then again, just click and drag. So with parts that go together like this, there should be, it should snap like that, because there should be, the handle should have a corresponding mounting point, so it should just snap together like that. Generally speaking, you could drag all of these in together at one time and ePlan would place it all for you automatically. But because of the way that we name the MER circuit breaker apparatus specifically, that's not going to work, because it basically places things in order of how they are in here. And we don't actually want it to be in that order, because the order that it creates is, so your main power in would be the first one, obviously, and then after that are all the circuit breakers, because they start with a C, and then after that are all the terminal strips, because they start with a B. So it goes in alphabetical order, and since that changes, they're not going to be in alphabetical order, unfortunately. So we go ahead and finish here. Alright, so now we've got our 24 volt distribution put together in there. And let's go ahead and put our 480 parts in there. So for these, when this comes up, you want to go ahead and say no. I'll just place that wherever. Same thing, say no. And then the last one, again, say no. Okay. Let's do our point IO rack next. So the point IO racks, you can basically place them all in at one time. You can just grab the entire rack and place it all in at once, except there's one caveat. If you have a safety card, which takes up a dual slot, it's not going to place those correctly, because it tries to place the basically it tries to place the two bases of the card on top of each other, and the spacing gets wonked out from there. Since I have a safety card, output card for the right there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have to do it one piece at a time, which is not a big deal. So go ahead and place the Ethernet, place the so you see how it's kind of snapping like that. So like I said, there should always be a snap to that. And then the last card. Okay. Our PLC, we can place that one. We can place that now. It looks like we never assigned a chassis to the PLC, which is fine. So we can go up here and go to Insert Device. And then I know I'm going to use A4 slot chassis. It sounds fun. Go ahead and place that. The handle for this one, and I'm pretty sure for most things, is going to line up with the bolt pattern in some fashion, just to make the dimensioning a little bit easier to understand when you go to make your cutout prints. The default handles, I'll go ahead and show you real fast, are basically, there's 9 default handles in a grid with 3 across the middle, 3 across the top, and 3 across the bottom. You could always use those. Every device has those by default. Or if it has a bolt pattern like this, this chassis does, you can use the one that's created for that. So we'll go ahead and place that. Okay. And we'll grab our power supply. Go ahead and place that. For this one, I know that this is broken, so I'm not going to place it, the macro, but it works just like all these other macros do. Go ahead and drag it in, our Ethernet slot in card. Go ahead and place it. And then our IB16. Go ahead and place it. Okay. So for our place our terminal strips. Terminal strip. We have several terminal strips in here. You can basically, if you want to place all these, you can just drag it in from the top and say yes, and basically it's going to show you the first part in that terminal strip. But once you put, so we'll go ahead and place it, and then it goes ahead and adds all the parts to that terminal strip, and then it moves you on to the next terminal strip in series. Okay. We'll do our, so do our circuit breakers. We can do those. If we want to put those right here, we can just, so holding shift, and just go ahead and grab everything. And then if you hit V, that's move. You can drag everything down. So if you want to place all your circuit breakers at once, again, you just grab it, just like I did there. And then you can place them. And then once you place the first one, it'll move on to the next one. Or it'll place all of them, which looks like, in this case, it placed all of them. This one looks like there isn't a macro created for that. Probably in this case, I wouldn't place all of those at one time because you're not going to want all these things to go together. So we'll Control Z, undo that, and we'll just do it one at a time. This one, so this circuit breaker has the contactor on it. So when you place the circuit breaker, if you drag it in from here, the contactor will get placed automatically, provided that the handle has been created, which looks like it hasn't been for this macro. So there should be a snap, just like there was for everything else. And if you can always go back and add things later. So if you notice, like as I've been placing things, parts have been disappearing. So that's also a good way to for you to kind of self-audit that things are getting done or what you have left to place. Control relays, we can place those. We'll just grab all of them at once. So with some parts, like these control relays, you can place them on a DIN rail, or you can place them on the back panel and screw them in. In cases like that, there should be 2 variants of the part. So let's kind of rotate around a little bit. So as you can see, looking at this one, part of the device is actually inside of the panel space that we're using, which means that this is the DIN rail macro. So if you hit the tab key, that'll switch to the the screw in macro. So for this, we'll just use that one. So we'll just go ahead and place that, and that brings all of them in together. Alright, so there's more here. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all that for the purposes of this video. But once you get all your devices placed, the next step would be to come up here and do layout space measure. And this is what you would do to try to figure out what size panel you want or need. So you come up here and you kind of go to the top left point. Let's say right there. And then let's go, so we'll go to our bottom right point. And we'll do right here. Oh, looks like I double clicked on accident. Made it lose its first, kind of the first point that I had selected. So let's try again. Okay, so point number 1. Point number 2. Alright, so it looks like we need so the way that we have this laid out right now, it looks like we need a 500 by 1,000 millimeter panel. So now that we have that now that we know that, we can go in here and we'll pick a panel. So we go back here to our mounting panel button. Let's just do and if the one that you want, the panel that you want isn't in here, you can go to the data portal, and the SCE has a lot of their panels inside of there already. So that would be a good resource as well. Let's go ahead and place our panel. So in a lot of these, SCE will add the accessories for it. So like you could go there and then it would just show you what back panel you need for that. If you go to the device selection screen. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second. I'm trying to find a good model to help show some of these things. Let's see if we have the mounting panel for that. So, yep. All right. So it should be, get to where I can see things a little bit better here. All right. So there should be a, when you go to place the mounting panel inside of the panel, there should be a snap point, just like the other parts were. It looks like when SCE created this one, they rotated it 90 degrees. That's okay, because I can show you how to change the angle of that. So you come up here to this button, you do change rotation angle, and there you go. So now it lines up right. All right, so now we do, so now we can see everything. So now let's come in here, let's get the front view again. So now if you come over here to layout space, and you do, so this is the enclosure, and you right click on the housings, or actually you just right click up here and you go to hide. So now you basically just have your two enclosures shown. So if you come over here and you just grab all the parts, I'm gonna have to look at this. You should be able to go ahead and move the parts from this one over here to this one. I'm gonna have to look and see why you can't do that. But basically, you could just drag. So let me try one more thing. I might know. Let's see. So I think you have to actually cut and paste the parts out and in. And I think you have to do that because ePlane knows that all those parts were placed onto the back panel. So it's trying to preserve that relationship. Whereas if you cut it, then you're telling ePlan basically you should be able to bring them in fresh. So we should be able to go ahead and place them onto the new mounting panel. And nope, alright, so I guess not. So I'll have to look at that and see if I can figure that out. Alright, so you can hide, so all these arrows, those are our different mounting points on those parts. You can hide those, just go right here to view mounting aids and uncheck that, and those will all be hidden. If you want to see, you can also see where the holes are going to get added, both inside of the, so if you go up here to view drilling view, all these orange dots are actual holes that are going to get added into the back panel or wherever. So like it would also show, I'll add a button onto the enclosure to show that. So if you go to enclosure and you go to show, and you just do show all. Alright, and then we have a button that we need to add as well. So let's come down here and down to PB. So if you remember from one of the previous videos, this button is actually all these different parts. But if you just grab the top level, it'll bring it. Basically, it brings in the button, the exterior button itself, and then you place that, and then it places all the other devices. So you can kind of see. So basically, the button, the latch, and then the 3 contacts. All right. So I'm gonna finish up the rest of this. That's pretty much the end of this video. Kind of the overview and introduction to using the Propanel portion of ePlan. Thank you.